The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Coming into week 9 of the CFL season, and the Ticats are getting ready to host Montreal at Hamilton Tim Hortons Field this Saturday, August 5th at 7 p.m., making their way home from Ottawa after what was just a crazy night for football in Ottawa. Hour-long rain delay with lightning to start the game off, and a strange game. 16-12 ended in the Ticats' favor with their third win of the season. Ending with a very dramatic defensive stand, and then a very unfortunate injury to Bo Levi Mitchell, which we'll talk about. But a win, Coach, after what was just a crazy night there. That had to feel good, getting that kind of win and battling right to the end with your team.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Obviously, wins always feel great. I feel like heading into that week, the coaches just did an outstanding job of preparation. And, the coaches or the players' job is always to perform. And that's the goal every week. But I think that was a tough, hostile environment. I think sometimes Ottawa gets a bad rap here based off of their past and their resume. But at the end of the day, they had won 3 of 4 against 2 formidable opponents. They're doing with a backup quarterback. They had a belief. They were at home. All the home losing streak was gone. Like, this was a hot team of sorts, and we knew that we were going to be in for a battle. And I just super proud of the players and the coaches just for their preparation. I thought we went in there focused. We knew it was going to be a tough game, and somehow we were able to claw and scratch and grind and find a way to come out with 2 points.
Yeah. Let's talk about the end of the game there, starting with Ottawa's last drive. For 3.5 quarters, your defense played a pretty impressive game. The first half, I think Ottawa's total offense was 67 yards. They really Mark Washington's guys were all over the place. You were able to hem in Crum, who has been leading the league nearly each week in rushing for this past month, and unbelievable job hemming him in. And in that fourth quarter, the Ottawa offense finally started to be able to move the ball down the field, which ended, as it looked like, with the momentum they had, for 2nd and 2 inside of the 5-yard line. It's like, wow, they have 5 chances, pretty much, it felt like, to get into the end zone. Like, how are they not going to do this? Right. And your defense came up huge. Can you talk about those last plays and maybe those last defensive calls?
Well, first of all, the way we look at Crum is that he was a quarterback by title, but once he crosses the line of scrimmage, he's very elusive, and he is more like a running back. He's tough. Doesn't back down from contact. I think he only slid 1 time, and he just kept getting up. And I think, he's to be credited a lot, and you're not just going to shut down a guy like that. And so, you'd like to see him get those yards in the first quarter and not drive it in the fourth. But at the end of the day, we had a solid plan. We're going to spy him at 3 different levels and just try to change up our looks. And we knew that if he didn't see what he liked right away, that he was going to take off with it. So, once they moved down there, it's really, as we say down there, it's not my guy. It can't be. And they tried to run it in. And when it became the last play of the game, we weren't gonna hold anything back, right? We were gonna hold a sign up if we had to that said we're gonna bring pressure, and right. We just weren't gonna be passive in that situation, and we did, and it was very well executed by both Carney and Sales. It's a pressure designed where if you do get blocked, you're to, we call it break, elevate, and pursue. So we're going to stop on the block, and then we're going to elevate to knock the ball down. And, what a play. Yeah. What a play there by Casey. So I can't really say enough about the effort. I think they were somewhere below 20% on 2nd down, which is unheard of, meaning conversions for them. And, we didn't have a favorable time on offense, obviously, with the turnovers, and all the defense did was run back out on the field, as that is their job. and consistently made plays. And let's credit the special team. That hot returner also, Luke.
Yeah.
And I know we were referring here just to the last drive, but I think it just kind of bodes well to the whole game why we're even in that situation. And Dandridge was a hot returner. He's very good. And their cover teams were top, and we were able to crease him a couple times. And then, you got to credit the offense as much as, statistically it may not look beautiful, but we were backed up a couple of times and came out of there and were able to regain field position. Yeah, you'd like to drive 105 yards and score a touchdown. But we were backed up a couple of times, and we were in second and long more than you ever would want to be in. And somehow we were converting. And, to be 11 of 22 on second down on offense, especially considering the down and distance, is something to write home about, if you will. It was a collective team effort. We found a way to get it done. Super proud. The ending was just true CFL fashion. I think also, Luke, just a little fun note, I think Steve Daniels had something like 10 of the last 12 games in the CFL in week 7, or dating through up to week 7, that is, had been decided in the last 3 minutes. And we were no different there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great points there, and a lot of questions on my mind. I want to hear your take on the last minutes here, and of course Bo Levi Mitchell. But before we do, you said something very interesting there about Crum, and you said spying him from 3 levels. And from an offensive guy like me, I'm thinking a quarterback spy. Well, you're going to take one of your linebackers, and you're gonna hold him out of the rush, keep him at his linebacker level with eyes on the quarterback. You could see Jameer Thurman a couple times during the game doing that. But can you touch on what that means in your defense to spy from 3 levels?
Sure. So I think, it's very easy to say, hey, we're going to take one of our D linemen and you're going to kind of halfway rush and keep an eye on the quarterback. And that's one way. And that's what I would consider like a first level. We got in a 5 down front with Thurman and used him as our 5th down lineman to effect the protection, and then used him to spy. So that's a first level. And then second level is traditionally like what you said. You take your Mike or your Will and you sacrifice your coverage a little bit to keep eyes on your, on the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can do that if you only rush 3. And then we also did it from the second level with Malik Carney and with Congo there a little bit, where we only rushed 3 and took him at the linebacker level and did it that way. And then we also took our free safety, be it Cross or Stavros, and spied from back there, where we let the coverage and everything sort around it. And then by the time the read was there or not there, it's just a different angle to run at the quarterback. And so I think we had a good plan of not just giving them one look where they couldn't just say this person is the spy, and changed it up. And it boded well for us, across, and I think each one of the spies were in on tackles. Yeah, really impressive. Just a great defensive game there. So your offense, you mentioned it, statistically, obviously the 5 interceptions look bad, and it was actually 5-3, the turnover ratio. So a -2 for the Ticats in the game, but the Ottawa offense only giving up one true interception, and then you had a turnover on downs. And then you had the very unique play of the double turnover, which just got me all jazzed up, because number 17, Terry Godwin, my former number, out there just doing some really cool stuff. And of all things to see a receiver do in a game is to come tackle with your hatchet out. That was a pretty special play. And this game probably looks different without that play. How does it, is Terry Godwin, is he just paying that good of attention in special teams meetings, or how do you credit a guy like that? How do you explain a guy being so ready for that? Well, you know what, I'm extremely, quiet on most of those things, but I will say that we spent time in training camp. You'll know that we've done a turnover circuit as a whole team, and oftentimes you wonder why. And I think that the one that we always show is the interception we threw in Toronto the one year that you were still playing, Luke, and Revenberg stripped it, and we ended up recovering it back, and then ended up going down and scoring a touchdown. And so you never know. You don't spend a bunch of time on it because you don't want to throw interceptions or those type of things. But unfortunately, sometimes they happen, or fumble recoveries happen, and you got to be prepared for the moment. So it's funny because, a defensive thing used universally is run to the ball. And also, as you said, we call it the hatchet, which is, we're going to put, our above our head, and we're going to swing violently through the football. And Terry did that on that play. It was two defensive terms used on offense that turned defense. And what I mean by that is the ball was intercepted. Terry brought the hatchet, and because Coulter Woodmansey was running to the ball, he was able to fall on it. And it was just a unique thing. I actually showed it, I'm going to show that to the football team and just show that, hey, when your moment comes, you never know when. It may not happen the rest of this year. It may not happen in your career, but when it is, we were prepared for that. Like Terry to run a little bit better route on that, Luke. You can appreciate that. But on the flip side, the very next play, Loxley goes the distance. Mm-hmm. So let's not keep that in mind. Like we got a first down out of that. Mm-hmm. And the next play, there goes Loxley for the touchdown. So very key moment. Definitely a turning point in that ball game.
Unbelievable. And the play prior to the double turnover play, the interception, and then Terry Godwin's forcing the fumble, you almost thought Terry Godwin was going to catch a 70-yard touchdown pass. It's hard to say if it got tipped or if it was a drop, but it was a near huge play, followed by the double turnover, followed by the huge play. It was fun to broadcast, I have to say. RJ and I were having a good time with that stretch of the game there because it was a circus, just unbelievable plays being made.
Well, I'm glad somebody was having fun at that point. I was a little disturbed, but yeah. It's part of the game, and it is fun when, I always try to use the, a little fun analogy that, sometimes the ball is round and it bounces back to you, and most of the time it has points though, and it goes away from you. So, we were fortunate to have the ball be round a couple times, but I'd like to say it was, there was a lot of great effort out on that football field and a lot of want to, and I saw a team that was not going to lose.
Well, let's talk about Bo Levi Mitchell. So the game, unbelievable defensive stand, gives your team the ball back on a very, very interesting yard line, let's just say. The 2-yard line. And you've got 13 seconds on the clock there. Tell me about the play call. Obviously, Bo Levi Mitchell leaves the game and is injured now. From those last plays. Break down the strategy and the thought process with 13 seconds left on the 2-yard line and how you handled it and what you think about it in hindsight.
Yeah, well, let's answer that in reverse. Like the unfortunate part is the injury. It's a play that's part of football every single week. No matter where you're at on the field, do you who's in there for that? Who's the best in those sneak situations? You're also entering into account, there's cadence involved too. There's cadence involved when it comes to those type of plays. But yeah, basically, so we had I believe we had the ball at the 2-yard line, which means that by the time the quarterback's there, he's going to be in the end zone. And so we're in our big package, or what we call our bowl package. And, we sent him out there. And the idea that the unique thing about this is it wasn't what we would call, you would know this, Luke. It's not like a victory formation where, you've got somebody deep and it's just a different formation, and you're not going to be able to back up and take a knee, right? And we obviously didn't want to take a knee and take a safety on the first play. So with that being said, our offensive line was going to have to fire out, but there wasn't any intention of gaining extra yards. It was making sure that we didn't give a safety. So that was basically that. And then the second one was going to be a kneel down, and let's get on the plane and enjoy it. And what ended up happening, we ended up getting great surge on the offensive left, what would be the defensive right. Somebody, obviously grabbed Bo's ankle underneath, and then he was bent back, and an unfortunate and unlikely event happened. And, here we are today. Yeah.
Right. The strange thing was not only the 2-yard line, so you can't give ground. It's not that's the thing about that. It's not the victory formation, because the defense, they have every intention to surge. They're still playing football. Like there's no way that they're going to just assume the end of that game there. They're going to have another football play. So you can't do a regular victory, give ground and take a knee, because there's 13 seconds still. So if you got the safety on that first down, I take it you knew you were going to have to then go through the motion of a special teams play after, right? So you had to have an actual football play on first down. Is that a right understanding of that?
Yeah, I mean, the safety on the second down play was irrelevant, right? We knew we were going to be able to run the clock out. It was just basically we weren't in a position they were coming. So they're going to submarine us. They're going to go. So we have to fire out. And it was just a case of get it across the goal line where you're not giving up the safety. And that was it. There was no intention to, it wasn't a quarterback sneak, you know what I mean? But it also wasn't ace victory. It's one of those in between plays. And, just really a freak accident is the end result.
And we said in our broadcast too, I think there's probably a lot of people who would say, well, why not? Why doesn't a backup quarterback go in there? But we're thinking Bo Levi Mitchell is the guy who needs to have the game and needs to have the ball in his hand to end that game. Right? There's too many question marks come up with a guy who hasn't seen the field all day, and now you have to make an actual legitimate, snap, hold, snap and football play. So it's hard to poke a hole in it. I mean, I don't know. It's a freak unfortunate thing, and you just hope, and Ticat fans just hope that Bo Levi Mitchell is back, on the field this year to lead this team. And are you overwhelmed by the idea that fate is against you with quarterbacks right now? I mean, what's going on? How do you handle this internally?
Yeah, well, I'm saying I get the comments of hindsight's always 20/20 and it's always the why. But I mean, Bo's taken so many sneaks. And again, it was just a unique situation, period. Yeah. And I don't know how many times out of 1,000 or 100 where nothing happens at all. Yeah. It's just one of those things. And as far as again, I think what people don't understand is there are cadences, there's situations. It was there, and it happened, and that's just what it is. Yeah. And it's not a shoulder shrug. It's not a light thing. It's a unique situation that we were in. And like I said, we got great surge on that play. There's really no direct answer there, Luke.
Obviously, it's a conundrum. I'm not sure what you do. 13 seconds we've seen earlier this season, Tunde Adeleke run around in the back of the end zone against Winnipeg. In fact, there was a strange circumstance in that play too, where he was actually flagged for a bizarre call of maybe faking to take a knee or whatever. But that 13 seconds is a long time to run around in the end zone to kill the whole clock to take a knee. So you can't. I run through it again and again. You can't find a better way to do it. It's just unbelievable that Bo Levi Mitchell has an injury that's going to have him out for at least a few weeks, and who knows how long. Just mind blowing. But the game ends and your team goes home with a win, and that's just the football is the most adversity ridden sport I think that there may ever be.
Yeah, well, Bo's spirits are awesome. He obviously is, it's a football play that happened that nobody envisioned. And it's really, the big thing, the question with Bo was, can he get through the game with his previous injury, and watching him run around and escape things and, get us out from being backed up. And, he played a crucial part in that win, despite his stat line for the game.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that play, because at times, especially, I think you guys were 6-6 for second down conversions to start the game in the first quarter. I mean, it looked different, and there was, like you said, it wasn't even favorable second downs each time. You had 2nd and 8, 2nd and 11s that you were facing. But Bo Levi Mitchell, you saw Terry Godwin, Duke Williams, Tim White got involved. That 10 to 12 yard, behind that linebacker level. There was some real production there in your offense in the passing game. I think it was 226 yards of net offense in the first half, and at times, again, apart from the stat line, 5 interceptions, and you can't ignore it. Of course, that's crazy. Right. But apart from those isolated plays, I mean, there was actually some really good passing offense there. How do you explain and move forward with that sort of with those sort of opposing points of good routes, good catches, and 5 interceptions?
Well, I just think Bo has a good handle on what we're doing. I think that, not all interceptions are equal.
Yeah.
I think the one he gave a 50-50 ball there, and the guy made a great play on it. The one before the half, they we were expecting a little bit different coverage there, and probably forced it a little bit. The other one, he broke on the slant. So they're not all equal, but they all register the same. I think when it comes to the pass game, I think we had people that were fearless going over the middle, and I think when that happens, then you don't have to run so many outside flood routes, different type of things like that. Mm-hmm. What ends up happening, I think we had 8 different people catch the football. Mm-hmm. And, I think Terry went over the middle, and, Tim and Duke, not a lot of people want to hit Duke when he's in there, and yeah. I just think it's not easy to go in there. Yeah, sure, it's your job and you can chalk it up to that, but, they're feeding their family trying to hit you, and you're feeding yours trying to catch it. And, it's friendlier when there's a sideline versus when there's lots of bodies. And so there's a lot of, the game plan kind of called for that, and nobody backed up. Everybody stepped up to the plate there, and Bo delivered some great balls in there. And I think the other great thing is that goes unknown is our O-line collectively, giving up 1 sack. That doesn't mean he wasn't hurried or harassed, because I do believe that being close counts when you're rushing the passer. But, Bo was able to keep 2 hands on the football, find a check down to move the sticks in a big downpour. I think he ridded the glove at some point, which I'm not sure how many times he's done that in his career. Yeah. He was all in trying to do whatever he could. So, I thought we did a great job there of keeping the sticks moving, and especially in second and long or unfavorable situations.
Yeah. The Bo rushed a couple times. We saw him escape and actually get a first down there once as well. But on the flip side of that, we talked about your defensive performance in the game in general, and a big part of that was the quarterback sacks. I mean, you guys were really making it uncomfortable to pass in the Ottawa pocket there. What do you say about your defense? I mean, why against Ottawa? Why were they able to have such success rushing the passer there that weekend?
Well, I just think they had a lot of want to. They had a lot of will. I mean, it's not like they don't have professional athletes in front of them. It's not like we got good overnight. I think collectively they decided to go, and it's not that collectively we haven't decided to go in the past. It's just sometimes, so it's almost like a hot shooter in basketball. You can have a hand up, but sometimes you're hot. And I think that, we were hot, and when you have somebody hold the ball who's going to look through it, and his second thing is to run and not throw it away, it's going to bode well. So I just, I credit, you got to credit the coverage too, right? If people are open right away, he's going to throw it. But when they're not, and you're getting after the quarterback the way we were, I think it bodes well. And anytime you can, the 7's the times we got him on the ground. Now, he got up a lot more than that. And so there was a lot more hits on the quarterback. Yeah. It's just those don't show up in the stat line. So just super proud of that effort. It's just a group effort between the coverage. Joe Mumford helped make me a great DB. Lot of great pass rushers that played in front of me that helped, me cover really well. And, I'd like to think that me and a bunch of my buddies, due to great coverage, allowed the pass rush to get there. And it's really the truth.
That's great. Well, we'll get to a quick fan question here. This one is from out west, actually. Don and Denise in Alberta, Ticat fans from the West. Don and Denise ask, Coach, I see so many teams go for their wins and losses in streaks throughout a season. Teams will win twice in a row, and then they'll win 3 times in a row. By the way, Montreal is a great example of that streak, Don and Denise. So timely question here as the Ticats get ready for Montreal. But Don and Denise ask, do you find this to be true as well? And if so, what do you attribute this to?
No, appreciate the question from out west. Nice to know that we got some good Ticat fans out west. So I think football there's so much involved, and injuries play such a vital part of it. And, sometimes you get it at different positions. So I think injuries always play into it. That doesn't mean you can't win or you always win when you're completely healthy. Either way you want to look at it. I think that, it's true. I think anybody can beat anybody at any time if you're not prepared, or you're slipping, or you're not in tune with the game. And so, at the end of the day, if you just take that model, right, and if you win 2, lose 2, you're going to end up being, as you go through the season all the way through, you're going to end up 500, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes it's 3-1, sometimes it's 1-3. The challenge with the losses are they're contagious, just like winning, and it's about how you can overcome those things. And there's just so many variables. I could talk on this for a long time, but I can only attribute it to football is a game of injuries, and it depends where you're at. And then sometimes your people make plays in timely fashion, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it gets rolling. Like you can tell, like currently Toronto's rolling. BC is rolling. And Luke, you were part of a 15-3 team, and I don't know that we ever went past the game in front of us. And sometimes, when you go 5-1 in the third, you don't ever focus on the one. It's like, oh, what happened? Let's tighten up, and you just go on. And I can remember that as a player also. We finished, I think our best record when I played in Hamilton was 13-5. And I can honestly say that we never dwelled on those losses. We just knew that the next game was up.
Yeah. It's a good question from Don Denise in Alberta, and I can resonate with that. You do learn to win, and so all of a sudden you start getting a couple games, and then you kind of start expecting it, right? And things go wrong, and you sort of expect that they're going to correct themselves in the game. And the inverse is absolutely true. The years, that sticks out in my mind is 2017. It's hard, man. It's hard, and teams have a special energy against a team that's losing. To go out and with some confidence to keep that team losing. And not fun to be the losing team in the East, or the losing team in the league that can't seem to get it right. And it's contagious both ways, I guess, is the way that sports go. But thanks for that fan question. Fans and listeners, you can send your questions for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca. Put in the subject line a question for Coach, or the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker, and we'll pick one each week to ask Coach O. The Ticats are getting ready to face Montreal, who is coming off 3 straight losses here: Toronto, Winnipeg, BC. What do you see against this Montreal team, Coach? How do you give them a 4th win and a 4th loss in a row as you get ready here?
Well, you're going to have to be a physical football team to beat this football team. They're well coached in 3 phases. They're going to give you a lot of looks. They're extremely gifted at wide receiver. They will run the ball if you don't, handle your business. Defensively, they're going to throw you a lot of looks. And special teams wise, they play hard, and they have a dynamic returner. And when you play like that, it just takes a little bit of not being focused and that sort of thing. So it's going to take extreme focus. They're better than their record in my estimation, and the bottom line is they beat us once already this year. So it's going to take focus. We're going to have to be physical, and we're going to have to protect the football, and we're going to have to get the football.
Good deal. That's going to be this Saturday evening at Tim Hortons Field. Ticats getting ready. We'll expect Taylor Powell to be out there on the field getting ready for another start at Tim Hortons Field after what was really an exciting game that he played offensively, at least. And of course that didn't lead to a Ticat victory, but excited to see Taylor Powell out there again. Coach, the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home renovation, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at TurkstraLumber.com. Coach, thank you very much for your time, and good luck with a great week of prep for Montreal.
Thanks, Luke. Look forward to next week. I guess we're on a bye, huh?
There you go. We'll have a little vacation, and we'll pick back up again, getting ready for that next Ticat game.
All right. Well, how about we'll be 500 after the bye? Let's do that.
All right, man.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.